Welcome back. You're still watching the Afia Morning Show live from Enugu, Nigeria. Now, Nigerian real estate entrepreneur, CEO of Sujimoto Luxury Construction Limited, Olasijibomi Ogundele, has been accused of defrauding the Enugu State Government of nearly 6 billion naira. His company was awarded a contract worth 11.46 billion naira for the construction of 22 smart green schools in 6 months, starting from July 2024. Now, the government paid 50% of the contract sum and an estimated 5.7 billion naira to fast-track the project. Now he has been accused and declared wanted by Efcc for diversion of funds and money laundering. In his response, this is what he had to say.
This is a contract between my company and the Enugu State Government. Enugu State Government asked me to help them build a couple of things, a couple of projects, which was very interesting. I was going to the state every week. In the middle of the project, they said, okay, the governor said he wanted to build a city. And he wanted to build the tallest building in Nigeria, 69-story building. I designed it and gave it to him. He said, okay, keep it aside. He said, while you are waiting for this, please help me do these schools. That we have money, but we don't have people that can do it. I've never done this type of schools before, but I knew it was cement and concrete and machinery. I knew it was arrangement. So I said, okay, let me give it a try. I told the governor, I said, this project is impossible because of the pricing, the cost of it is too low to build. The governor said, don't worry, just help me do these schools, and later you won't make money for the schools, but you make money from the other projects, which I was very happy with. Right there, I mobilized 42 engineers to the states. I took a house in the state. I love the state. I went to the state, and I was there doing the job. I was traveling from Eziagu to different local governments. I had an accident that my back got broken. But I didn't tell anybody. Now, the contract was frustrated. When we took the contract, at every point, I knew that it was difficult to do it because of the pricing. Now, when we took the contract, cement was 7,000. By the time we left, cement was 10,000. I faced a lot of people. Sometimes we were in the villages, my stars are being shot at. Sometimes they will have some people come, they will bring guns and shoot at them. I was still there. But at the end of the day, things went sour between myself and the government. And I was still there. If I had money, I would continue the project, but I had my other projects. I had stress on my other project that I wanted to do. Now, they took me to court. And I said, okay, let's look at the entire project. How much have we spent? Till the last day I was in the project. I was there till the last day. Then I asked me that, how much have we spent in the project? And I put my foot. They took us to court, and we told the court, we don't want to fight with the government. Let's agree. How much do we owe you? And I was in agreement with them, and now they declared me wanted. They destroyed my company that I built with my hand. But I'm going to go there. I'm going to the Efcc office. I'm going to go and clear my name. In the last 2-3 years, prices have just gone crazy. If I'm doing my project, it's delayed, 5 years delayed. Something I could have done with 2 years. Prices of things changed. The economy went sour on me.
In another recent video, the CEO is seen vlogging on an incident while on project inspection, where we see his car has had an accident. The 44-year-old CEO is accused of abandoning the site, delivering shoddy work, and using inexperienced workers and quack engineers. Now, a joint team from the Enugu State Ministry of Works and Infrastructure and the Efcc found minimal to no significant work at the site 1 year after the contract award. To discuss this, we're joined by Dr. Chukwudi Anyanuka, Public Affairs Analyst this morning. Dr. Anyanuka, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Natalie, for inviting me. And good morning, Oji.
Quite an interesting one, isn't it? It's a mouthful.
For me, it's an unfortunate one. That is what I'd have to say, first of all, because I'm just wondering, the students who would have started school this September in those abandoned facilities, you see their fate. I understand that it has been re-awarded to other contractors, but then you see that they will not be able to start with their colleagues who are also starting in other schools. I have listened to Sujimoto, and I have also read the release by the Commissioner of Information, Enugu State, and my view is quite simple. He should go and answer to Efcc. I don't believe in coming out to use emotional blackmail to win some kind of sympathy towards you. This is a contract. This is somebody who is known, in quotes, to be building skyscrapers, technology-driven skyscrapers. How is it that very simple smart schools, if, for instance, the money that the governor offered you, because we're relying on just one narrative, is a single story. We haven't heard from the governor. And in matters of this nature, I don't even expect the governor to come and respond to stuff of this nature. You don't need to go to Efcc and answer. We have seen the projects. We have seen that some of them are just at the excavation level. How is it possible that someone who is so reputed to have built such gigantic skyscrapers in Lagos that you cannot construct? Why don't you tell the government? Why don't you ask for a review of the contract if the sum was too much? And then another defense, for instance, that from my own part, I'm an Enugu citizen. I know how passionate I am about
education,
smart schools.
yes.
The reason why you invited me to this program. Now, the next question: why didn't you ask for a review of the contract? If the cost for building those building those schools became so much, why didn't you ask for a review? As I'm speaking to you, the one in my village is completed. We have several other people who also had, 10, 20 smart schools allotted to them, completed there. So why is your own different? And that's what we need to actually query.
Where is your village?
Nome Onateze. I'm from Nome.
Nome Onateze.
Yes.
That's our chief's village as well, Chief Emeka Mba.
Exactly.
Also known as Ikenga. Okay.
Exactly.
Let's leave it at that now, okay? Yes. So let's try to break this down, because this is a complex issue.
Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning, it's a mouthful. So many sides to this story. Could you, in your assessment, tell us where you believe the contractor, where he was flawed, where he went wrong, what the Enugu State Government could have done better? Where did the state government go wrong in this? And how can we appreciate this categorically? Because right now we're seeing the contractor saying that he was lured. He was told to come and construct a 69-story building. And the governor said during a meeting, keep this aside. I want you to start and do 22 smart schools. So he is giving that impression that he was dangled a carrot and told, you get this high-rise building, which we know he's known for. I mean, we see what he's doing in Banana Island, Lagos. He was told that would be, and that's where he will make profit from, and not necessarily the smart schools. He is also saying that there were security threats at the different sites, that his workers, he alleged, were being shot at. He also said that his back got injured during an accident.
He broke his backbone.
His back, yes, he got
he said
injured.
He broke his backbone.
He broke his backbone during an accident.
And that's a very severe. I'm surprised he could sit like this and talk.
Yes.
For someone who broke his backbone.
It's crazy, right? Because apparently, looking at everything that just happened and all the conversations and, all he said, right? If this is what he wants to go and tell the EFCC, I'm sorry. He's going to be locked out for a very long time. Before we even get to EFCC, Dr. Nyanuka, break this down.
Okay.
Where did things start going down this hill?
Okay, let me start off this way. Before the smart school brouhaha came up, there was a news report about him partnering with Enugu State, to fight food security.
Insecurity with the 30,000 hectares.
Exactly. So he's going to be acquiring, for instance, 30,000 hectares of land where he will farm rice. So that means he already has a relationship with the Enugu State Government before the so-called contract about building 69-story skyscraper. Okay? Now, does Enugu have a smart city? The Enugu State Governor came in and said he was going to come up with his philosophy, disruptive innovation. Does Enugu have a smart city that is currently being built? That is the truth. Enugu does. So if the governor, perhaps in the course of their conversation, because we saw him, taking pictures with the governor, you understand? I mean, for that particular post concerning the 30 acres of
30,000 hectares,
30,000 rather hectares of farmland. So we saw pictures with it. So that means they already have a relationship. So if they discussed, and then the governor said, I would like you to also contribute. There's an angle to his narrative that I don't buy at all. How can you say that Enugu State Governor told you that they don't have people who can build the smart schools? What about indigenous contractors that are also handling the smart schools and have already completed their own contracts? So how can you now say that? So you begin to actually pick out these things from his narrative. Now, where did Enugu State Governor, the government rather, go wrong? I think it's in the narrative about the Jais Bank and the Zenith Bank transaction. He took a bond
from
you understand? From Jais Bank, and then he submitted a Zenith Bank account into which he was paid for. I think, that's about the area that I'd like to blame Enugu's. Was the person not who actually approved that payment and who made that payment, were they not conscious of the fact that Jais Bank was the bank that they ought to have paid into? Because Jais Bank, they ought to recover the loan that they actually issued to
and that is a bond, because the bond would now make the bank bear full liability in a case that the contractor elopes.
So that's about the only area. So I think it's something that government needs to investigate very thoroughly. I think it's an error. I can't say with certainty whether it was deliberate or whether it was an oversight. But for a contract of this nature with that kind of amount, one shouldn't expect such a thing to just be an oversight. We expect that you will do your due diligence. You should be very certain before releasing funds. All right? Then I'd like to also take it from this angle, because a lot of people are saying that if you've been reading a lot of social media reports, though a lot of these things have been politicized, we must actually accept that. But if you look at it, why would the governor insist on handing this man or reporting this matter to the Efcc if he had, that's my own view, if he had a hand in it? I hope you understand what I'm saying. So I don't believe he had a hand in it. Now, he also confessed that the amount of money that was approved was a bit too little for him to be able to execute that contract. All right? Doesn't that show? Because every government actually wants to, stretch itself or make a mile. Every honest government, as far as I'm concerned, they want their money to actually yield value. So if you can get a contract for something that ordinarily costs, or maybe a major contractor can actually handle for you at 30,000 naira. I'm using that as an instance. I can get it for 28,000 naira.
5.7 billion naira.
That's a lot of money.
Do you know what that means?
That's a lot
you
of money.
Count to 999 million naira, then you go to 1 billion, then you get to another 999 million. You add it 1
but
billion.
How come the man couldn't even construct? If he had completed, for instance, let's say about 10.
Yeah. There's something I know. Let's get to the conversations on the digital media right now and what they're saying, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think, I'm sorry I'm bringing this up, let me just tease your mind a bit. Do you think that somehow somebody in the government or the government is somehow connected to this?
I think you heard, I made the analysis.
No, because you said
something.
You said for him to report to the EFCC.
Yes.
I'm coming from the perspective that apparently the bond with the Jais Bank and paying to the Zenith Bank could be the reason why, because they can't actually reach out to that fund again, because the bond was with Jais and Zenith. They can't hold Zenith Bank, right? So do you think maybe that's the reason why it was reported to the EFCC? But do you think somehow somebody is connected to this issue?
I'll go back to the statement I made. Was it deliberate or was it an oversight? I cannot say. Government needs to set up. Excuse me. I work with the public. I'm a public servant, so I understand these things very well. And I've also worked in the private sector. So when things of this nature occurs, what you need to do is to carry out very severe investigations. Even if it demands setting up a panel of inquiry where you can bring in people who have a lot of reputation to investigate, look at the books. You have experts. Why did this happen? It starts off with a query. I don't know what the Enugu State Government is doing at this moment to determine whether it was an internal job that was done. But I believe that it is something that it should also do. I cannot say with certainty whether it is or whether it is not. I don't work with them.
Let's look at it this way. If he supplied a Zenith Bank account, could it be that he wanted to use the money for other purposes and he did not want it to be tracked? Because any transaction carried out with a bank that you've taken a bond from will definitely be monitored. Could it have been that perhaps the CEO, Sujimoto, had other issues to settle and he needed a convenience bank to do that. We're seeing that some workers had apparently initially resigned because of his inability, as alleged, to pay salaries. We're also seeing that this is not the first time that this individual will be in the news for such controversies. So I have to ask this question. Do you think that the Enugu State Government should have done more due diligence around the controversies surrounding this individual, even as recent as 2024?
Yes, I think so. There should have been more due diligence. I agree absolutely with that. But then again, let's look at it this way. I'm very happy you mentioned this about, his inability to pay his staff, and then why use Zenith Bank. That is why Enugu State Government has said, as far as they are concerned, this was a premeditated fraud. It was something that was planned. And this is somebody who has a lot of questions around his integrity. And then Enugu State Government should have done a lot of due diligence in that regard. Yes, we can't shy away from that. It's very important for government to accept the areas where he hasn't done very well as far as this matter is concerned. But that is not to say that, sometimes when you look, accusation too, something can be at the level of allegations, but he hasn't been convicted of any of those crimes. So we need to also establish that. And then even all the stories about, I've heard so much more, some I can't even say in the studio here. I've heard so much about him. So many things he's involved in. But then again, when things of this nature comes out, some people put up both false and misleading information. Sometimes some of those information are actually true. People who have come to testify and say, oh, this is exactly who this man is. So there's something around him that the Enugu State Government should have dictated much earlier. Those who were in charge of actually investigating someone, because there are certain contract, because if it is in terms of what he's been able to build, given your preamble, you'll see that if you look at the buildings, if you look at maybe the documents you have submitted before the state, you cannot say, oh, this person will actually swindle the state. But because there's something about his character, as far as I know, based on this Giants Bank and Zenith Bank, because nothing proves it better than that. How could you take a bond with another bank and then you're submitting for advance payment? Remember, this money was actually paid in advance. And he also confessed, because if you listen very carefully to him, he's also saying something about that he has a lot of challenges with some of his earlier projects. So he collected this money perhaps in order to complete those projects that he hadn't completed. So he never had the intention, in my view, of actually building any
5.7 billion. You're having challenges.
And then how can you mobilize 42 engineers for what?
Was
for
he
22
lured,
smart schools?
Was he lured? Do you think that CEO of Sujimoto was lured?
No, I don't believe he was lured.
Why don't you believe he was lured?
I don't believe, because he's matured. He's been in this business for a very long time, so he understands the cost implication of what he's gotten himself into. He should also understand the legal implications. He should also understand that he's dealing with a state governor who is a lawyer himself, who understands a lot of the nitty-gritty about this matter. And if he had actually taken time to study the governor, he would have seen that the governor will never... Look, I don't want to say it so much, but do you know that there are states that they have given contracts of this nature? And because the people that they gave such contracts were very influential and the people actually made away with the money, nothing was ever heard about it again. That is the truth. But this state governor says, no, you can't just do this and get away with it. For me, I've already told you from the beginning my interest. This smart schools, I understand the philosophy behind the smart schools. There are a lot of people who don't agree that we should have smart schools. There are a lot of people who believe that the dilapidated building should have been renovated. But I understand better that, for instance, if you in your own compound, you now have a building that has become so bad. Maybe when it was built in the early 70s, and the modern facilities, you cannot accommodate them with that old building. Do you continue to renovate? It will even cost you much more. Why don't you just build from the scratch? I believe that's what the state governor has done. The state government has done. So Sujimoto has a lot of questions to answer. This crocodile tears, I don't buy into it.
But I was going to ask here, was that a right call for him to come to the public to seek for that sympathy, or go answer whatever he is questioned for at this EFCC?
That's my position. I said I don't, because this thing is just to buy emotion. A lot of people, of course, you see, if you
and
go,
he actually bought emotions
people actually anchoring on what he has said.
They've moved it to a tribal sentiment angle.
And that is also very sad.
Yeah.
Because even the bus terminals, wasn't it built by somebody from Yoruba land? If we want to look at it that way. So why do we have to put it? Don't Igbos get contracts in Lagos, for instance? Don't Igbos get... I have a friend who lives in the north, and then I know that he became very wealthy today on account of executing projects, you know, for that particular northern state. You understand? Where he's highly respected. That is where he lives with his family today. So when would we be... And we're talking about 22 smart schools out of 260. What percentage? About 8%. Of this contract, and we have indigenous contractors who were also handed projects that are as many as that. So, and that is why I said that Peter Mbah could not have told him that we don't have people who will build. Those who are building it right now, is it the same Sujimoto? So we need to look at these things very fairly. And Peter Mbah grew up, I mean, lived in Lagos for a very long time, just like I did. I have people who are friends of mine from different ethnic groups. Ethnic backgrounds. So I don't see, once you can do this, why won't I give it to you? That doesn't also obviate the fact that I should also give to somebody from my own ethnic group. But you can't say, oh, all these jobs must be done by... Okay, what if Peter Mbah says that he's only going to award it to Nkanu East, since he's from Nkanu East, if we begin to act in that way and manner. So I don't think, that shouldn't even be a topic of discussion as far as I'm concerned.
It's great that you mentioned that, you know, the tribal dimension and how we have 22 out of 260, which could be a striking 8%. So we don't know who are handling the remaining of the 260 smart green schools and where they are from. How many of them are Igbos? So it takes us to the angle of transparency. Now, the only people know what they know. They don't know what they don't know till they know what they don't know. I heard that somewhere, and it's great I had the chance to say it today. So they don't know who is actually handling the remaining and where these people come from. So it takes us to the angle of transparency. In terms of the bidding process for these contracts, should there be more transparency? In terms of who is handling what? Especially with regards to the smart schools, should that information be better communicated, perhaps uploaded on the website, so that beyond the signposts that we see constructed by this contractor at the site, should this information be online so that we know how many of these projects are being handed to Yorubas, maybe Hausas, and maybe Igbos as well?
Okay, so the intention of that would be to know exactly the ethnic groups of... there are some questions I might not be able to handle. You probably need to invite one of the government spokesperson to talk about this. All right, it is not something I can address sufficiently. As far as you remember, I'm a communicator. That I'm going to have to. I look at things from particularly that perspective. Okay, my passion about these smart schools, I'd like to see them running. I was expecting that by September this year, all the smart schools would have started running. The number two, having watched him, you know, this is a drama as far as I'm concerned. Certain things he said, you can pick from the words, from the claims he has made. He talked about being shot at. They were shooting at his staff. I hope none of them was shot, because we never heard that there was any such tragedy. So he had an accident.
But I've been in the news.
Exactly. So if people were killed at sight, I mean, it's something that we all would have known about.
What do you make of his follow-up video, the vlog, where he basically chronicled a day in his life, starting from the tragic accident, not fatal because nobody died, the tragic accident, and then he also took us all the way to one of the sites where he stood and made, pointed at a few things, and then, videoed himself in the vehicle. What do you make of? I don't know if you saw the follow-up video.
I didn't see it. I wish you had sent it to me. I would have loved to see it. I didn't see it.
I think you're just sweeping up sentiment. This is not.
Okay, now let me paint a picture since you're yet to watch the video. Okay. So in the video, he's basically patronizing Enugu. He's saying that Enugu people, they are happy people, welcoming people. He's passionate about Enugu. That's what he's saying as he goes along on the trip to the sites. So he's releasing this video shortly after the emotional moments that he displayed in the initial video. What do you make of his handling of matters around this without actually giving us any empirical data as to what happened to the money?
Thank you very much. I think the answer is very evident, obvious. So he knows what he's doing. He's playing mind games. So he wants Enugu to have some kind of compassion towards him, okay? And then turn against the government. That means well for them. By establishing, the government meant well by establishing those smart schools, okay? Sadly, the people of Ezeago, particularly that region where most of the smart schools were awarded to him. I think Uji River too, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's part of the area where he also ought to have built some of those smart schools. So they are the ones that have been, what's the word for it now? They're the ones that have been shortchanged. So those videos, they are well calculated videos. So if you had this impression about it, can't you see the contradiction? Can't you see that the video is incongruent with the claims that he made earlier? That is one thing. If you pay attention to someone's communication style, you can dictate a whole lot of things about that person. So now, in one breath, you're telling us that Enugu was very hostile to you. People were shooting at the side, shooting at your staff, and then in another breath, I'm sure he shot that video much earlier, which he released. He's now saying Enugu people were welcoming. If you go to someone's house and the person shoots at you, will you actually describe that as welcoming? That's hostility. Yeah, so these things are all made-up stories, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's look at the charges put in place by Efcc against the Sujimoto CEO. Now, Efcc has declared him wanted. And I'd like you to break down for us what it means to be wanted as well. At what point would it get to that point? Secondly, the two charges, diversion of funds and money laundering. What does it mean? Break it down for us.
Okay, very serious. Let me start with the first one about being wanted. I mean, perhaps there have been invitations. EFCC needs to also speak in regard. Invitations has been extended to him to show up, and he hasn't. Because that's how it starts. Before such a publication is put up, you would have been invited to appear before the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. As far as I know, I was a crime reporter as a very young person, so I understand this part of it. So before it gets to the point of what, and then it's not just once. You would have been invited once, twice, thrice. Remember, if you read the release from Dr. Malakiabo on behalf of Enugu in regard to this matter, so he said they used the word that he vanished into thin air.
Absconded.
They also use that term, vanished, absconded. You know what that means? That means they've been looking for you, you understand? And you've gone rather into hiding. So you've done something, they can't reach you. That is why EFCC would have put up, in my belief, that wanted. Because he wouldn't have gotten to that point if he had tried to deal with this. As he did say, he was taken to court, remember? And he said he wanted to settle out of court. And he said, how much am I even owing? Because you collected money. If you know you cannot do the job, why did you collect the money in the first place? You shouldn't have. Now let's go to the second part of it about the diversion of funds and money laundering.
Right.
I mean, before EFCC begins to put up stuff of that nature, I believe they would have also carried out a certain level of investigation. So perhaps the money was actually wired up. You know, they can trace your phone. And let me also tell you, I'll be surprised if all his assets are not frozen by now. His bank accounts, you understand I'm saying, everything that he owes to himself. I'm sure, I will be shocked if all his this, because they have a tracer, all your spendings. So before they say you're involved in money laundering, it means that you would have actually wired money outside of these shores to another place. Remember, this is a man who also does a lot of, he did a lot of projects in Dubai. You do know that.
France, projects in Dubai.
Fantastic, good.
Banana Island, Lagos.
Fantastic, you know. And you see, I talked about the kind of, the level of skyscrapers this man has built. Do you understand? And we need to understand that. So EFCC, I believe, perhaps in investigating this Enugu State matter, has also stumbled into
so many other information,
so many other things about him. I don't think it's just about this Enugu State matter. So a lot of other things have been discovered concerning this particular personality.
He cried with a sense of aggression. The tears did not garner sympathy for him. In fact, they annoyed the viewer. They upset people.
Maybe that's why
the way he
strategized with the whole Enugu is a lovely and welcoming place.
So he cried, he really cried, and his cry was annoying to many people. Now, could he have been crying because if what you're suggesting proves to be true, could he have been crying because maybe his assets are being frozen or claimed as collateral for what he's missing? Do you think that he's upset that finally the state has caught up with him? Do you think he's upset that because if he was invited by EFCC and he did not respond, I mean, he's fine. But the way he cried, there was that jerk of he was frustrated that the tears were not, he was like a stubborn child who had his toy taken away from him. So could he have realized that he no longer owns a certain quota of things? Could that have been why he broke down? I mean, just look at him. Just watch him.
Yes,
he's upset.
I've watched the video.
He's upset.
I've seen it. I even downloaded it, so I've seen it a couple of times.
Can we draw parallel lines between your suggestion and what we're seeing on screen?
I love the way you ask questions because you literally answer those questions, before because that's evident. Why couldn't he go do you know that if you want to cry genuinely, you will not cry before the camera? Will you cry before the camera if you're really hurt genuinely? These are all show. This is all for show. If you're hurt, naturally, you walk into your room, the first thing you do, you won't remember that you do have a camera. Not to talk about setting it up and then sitting down to record yourself crying.
Were those angry tears?
It doesn't work like that.
Were those angry tears?
Those tears were deliberate tears. It was meant for us to have sympathy or pity on him. It was meant to drive our emotions to the extreme where we will turn and become angry at the state government.
But the question is,
because he's presenting himself as a victim.
Yes.
Remember, it's important for us to actually establish one fact. He's presenting himself as a victim, but the question is he a prey or is he the predator?
That is the big question.
For me, he's the predator.
So you said something that he is faking the tears. So we've heard that so much, crocodile tears. I mean, it means fake tears. Second side of it, he cried with a certain sense of anger. There was nothing cute about those tears. He was upset. Could he have been angry when it dawned on him that he could lose or suffer collateral damage of what he did to Enugu?
I think he came out because he has already suffered that. I mean, because of the freezing of his assets, I believe so. I believe that's why, perhaps at that point, let me also give him the benefit of doubt, that his intention was to actually give a narration, his own part of the story. But then, you shouldn't be talking to us. This is a press. Why don't you engage a lawyer? I don't know if you understand. You should have lawyers. Somebody at that class should have lawyers. I mean, is someone very flamboyant? Is somebody who belongs to all these $1 million clubs? So why don't you engage a lawyer to respond to if there are allegations against you, those claims by the Enugu State Government? Because Enugu State Government, they've already sent in their release. Why don't you respond to it? That's a mature way of doing it, rather than come on social media to begin to cry. Okay, so I give it to him. Perhaps he started off by trying to give his own part of the story, and he got to a point where he remembered that this is actually costing him so much, and he broke down.
Okay, let's be fair. What could have happened? You have a contract of 11 billion, 50% paid, 5.7 billion, right? And 22 jobs for you to deliver in 6 months. You complain about cement. It's spiked from
7,000 to 10,000.
Fine.
That's about 30%. Oh, am I correct?
Yeah, and you're a luxury builder. You've built luxury homes, skyscrapers. To build a one-story building, what's there? Even if it's a smart or smarter school, right? It's a building, as you stated.
Remember, it's just for the structure, perhaps. This has been clarified.
Yeah.
This is just for the building, not for the equipping.
Fine.
Good.
You said he's mixing cement and sand. Easy, as you stated, right? So why complain? What could have actually gone wrong?
The thing is, what I believe went wrong was that from the beginning, he didn't intend to build those schools, in my view. I think he came out, I agree with the Enugu State Government release that this was actually premeditated. It was planned before the money was actually released to him, because I keep citing the issue about the JICE and the Zenith Bank, because that for me proves, because how can I take a bond from a bank, a particular bank, the bank perhaps I use,
right.
I don't want to mention any name, okay, and then I've submitted this for which I have been handed this contract, then when I wanted to receive the advance payment, I now use another bank. That is the area where I believe that the Enugu State Government or whoever was in charge should have been a bit more careful.
Let's take it back to him now. So you've received 5.7 billion naira into your Zenith account. But as an experienced contractor, you know that the bond means a lot. It's very consequential. You know what you submitted. Was it not in his place to report to the state that the money had been transferred into the wrong account instead of going with the flow? Or is he not as professional as he's made out to be? Because I don't understand why I'll receive money into a wrong account and I will not raise alarm. I mean, there are many things he's not raising alarm about.
He didn't actually, he didn't address this even in his...
You can tag this to...
There are many things that are not being talked about. There are many escalations not being escalated.
You can tag this now to personality, you know, or personal admiration from the governor or the government, because Sujimoto...
Yes, big name,
right?
Name,
so
yes.
If you can build skyscrapers, luxury ones, you can build smart schools. I want, because you know the personality of the governor we have in Enugu State. He loves it to be all splendid and nice, classic, you know, and all that. So he now, maybe because of that trust and love and admiration, you can do this since you can do other stuff. Could this be the misconception that led to this? Because at the end of the day, you have to make a bidding and people bring the applications and you go through them. And this is where you even address the issue of spike and all that. You go through all these documents, right? And you know, oh, this is viable.
Contracts are also reviewed.
Yeah, you review.
You can review your
fine and good. So
contract. Along the line, you can review your contract and say, no, this is no longer visible on account of the rising cost. You state the percentage in terms of inflation. You know, and then your cost analysis would be looked at. Remember, these things are quantified. A quantity surveyor actually has to look at the value. We have a government quantity surveyor who actually valued. That's why government valued. Remember, the original sum was about 300 and it wasn't the 500 and something million that it was initially. I think it was 300 and something million per smart school, but it was reviewed upward on account of these realities that Sujimoto spoke about in terms of rising cost of things, meant from 7,000 to 10,000. I believe it's still sold, but still sold for around that 10,000 today. So these are things that, you know, for me, it was a deliberate action on his part. And I'm very, very upset on account of the fact that this is affecting the children that should have started school.
Who is to blame in all of this? Who bears the most blame? On whose head is it heaviest?
I think Enugu State Government has a responsibility now to make sure that money is recovered. I'd like to put it that way. It was, I don't want to use the word mistake. It was either an oversight or it was something that someone did not take proper care of. Perhaps, who knows, maybe for some little change.
So who didn't take proper? Let me just jump in there, because this is another junction that we don't know which way to turn, right? Whether it's left, right, or straight.
You know, you're boxing me right now.
I need you to be. That's the essence. If you notice, the guest chair is
you want me to say something that I don't have information about.
No,
and that is why I have to present it this way.
You attempt it. You attempt it, okay? You attempt it. So, you said that someone's desk. You mentioned someone's desk.
Absolutely.
So, whose desk? Who should be held responsible? Now, is it the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure? Who does, or the office that disburses the money? Who's on whose desk does this fall on? We saw a recent cabinet reshuffle. Could this have been tied to it? If not, who should be held accountable? Who brought Sujimoto? Do you understand where I'm going with this? Could you speak to this?
You know, this is a chain. Sujimoto was not just brought by the person who released the money. There's a process. And Sujimoto, already we know We've seen him in pictures with the governor. I talked about meaning that Sujimoto cannot claim that the current governor lured him. No, I don't agree with that. Okay, so there's a process, okay? So, but if it is in terms of releasing the check, the proper thing wasn't done at that point.
By who?
So ultimately, why do you want me to mention the office? You already know the office.
What is? I don't know. I'm oblivious of the office. I have no idea.
You do.
Educate me. Whose office?
Who issues checks?
Who issues checks?
Who issues checks?
Dr. Nyanuka, who issues checks?
Who issues checks?
Who does?
The Office of the Accountant General, I believe, issues checks of this nature. But then it goes through several approvals, okay? So it goes through, of course, you also have the Auditor General. These things are also usually audited. That is the truth. And then before the checks are finally approved.
Right.
I don't know who has the final signatory up to it. Or perhaps it could be the governor. I don't know whether the Accountant General has the final signatory, but the error would have been performed. The governor will not be expected to look at everything.
I think the governor's role would be to actually approve. The governor would approve the contract.
Yes.
Then someone else has to sign off on the money.
Good.
So you're saying that the Attorney General, perhaps this is where this
the office.
the office, sorry, not Attorney General, the Accountant General.
Let's be very
okay.
The office
of the Accountant General. Possibly.
I believe possibly. But then I'd encourage you to invite a state official to come and also speak about this.
Definitely.
Now, this is my own belief as far as this matter is concerned.
But we're taking it back to Sujimoto. So he received the money in Zenith Bank.
He's not denying it.
And he kept quiet.
There's something you need to add to, right? As the signatures were going around, were they not paying attention to the account?
That is why I talked about the
Giving.
That is why I talked about a proper investigation. Proper investigation needs to be carried out. You understand? Because if it skipped one office, it shouldn't skip another. That's about the only area. But you can't blame Enugu State Government for awarding a contract to Sujimoto.
Do you think, what is the place of a statement of accounts in sorting this out? I mean, I think it's a great idea for the statement of account to be published. I mean, if he was taking money from Zenith Bank, where the money was paid, don't you think it would be a great idea for us to now know what he was spending the money on? Maybe we can now understand if he was in fact buying cement and concrete, as was mentioned in the video, because, I mean, Zenith has the statement, right? Because this is part of the investigation.
You know that EFCC has the right to actually demand for all those details, and I believe that they would have done their own preliminary investigation. I believe they would have looked at all these accounts. Remember, there is a second allegation against him, money laundering.
What is the second allegation?
Money laundering.
That's right.
Laundry, yeah.
Money laundering. You wouldn't know. That's what I'm saying. So they would have seen something. For them to have added money laundering, it's not just about diversion. Diversion, even in itself, also tends to answer that question that you have raised right now. So the money, was it used for buying cement and mobilizing people at site, or was it diverted to another project? That is the diversion. That is why that term was also employed or deployed, diversion, meaning that money that was supposed to be going to somewhere was now taken to somewhere else.
How would this affect Zenith Bank? Would Zenith Bank have to provide any of the money?
I don't think that Zenith Bank has anything to answer. Absolutely not. Now, Zenith Bank, you received money, it was paid into that particular person's account. It wasn't paid into Zenith Bank as a corporate entity. Remember,
Well,
this person holds an account with Zenith Bank, so he received money from Zenith Bank. So how will it be Zenith Bank's business? That all Zenith Bank will do is whatever it is that government asks them to supply, EFCC particularly, they will make those things available to EFCC. And I believe that that they had already done this before EFCC now determined that no, there was a diversion of funds, and then secondly, that this guy was also involved in money laundering.
From the government's coffers,
Yes.
there's a statement that is salient: vanished.
Yes.
Does this summarize the whole story?
Vanished. Well, he has appeared now. He has
From
appeared.
where?
He has appeared. We don't know where he spoke from, but he has also said he was going to go
You
to.
can't get a grip or hold of him.
But that's. I believe that before government decided to take this action, and even the release actually suggests it, that they tried to talk with him. Remember, he was taken to court. We don't know whether he was being represented by his lawyers, which is a likelihood that he was not showing up. Because if he was showing up, probably they would have arrested him. So I believe it's something that he's already used to. He has a lot of litigations against him.
That's right.
He already has a lot of things hanging over his head.
Is he too big for the law? Has Sujimoto met his match?
Well, now he's dealing with a state governor who is determined to make sure that nobody can come and steal Enugu State's money and run away with it. I believe that he has met someone who is even better positioned to deal with him.
Well,
yes.
It was even graceful that his 6 months was given and apparently elapsing now before this whole thing starts emanating. Yeah, so I think...
So we've talked about something that has dragged over 1 year now.
Yeah, those smart schools have been awarded to new contractors, and we don't know who they are. The same question about who are these contractors. Should the Enugu State Government be more open about the bidding for these contracts and to let us know who they are? Because there seems to be a lot of mystery around the contractors over the smart schools. So who should be held responsible for delivering that information?
I think at this point, if Enugu State Government hasn't done this, then it should. It's something that should be done at this point. It should be done.
Another major concern, which I think we have to rehash before we wrap up this segment, is lots of people feel that more local contractors should be used and not people from other ethnicities. That why are we not patronizing in Enugu? And that is the overriding thing. And now the one person that was representing disappointed everyone, right?
I don't care.
Nathalie, sorry about it, because I need to address this. Nathalie, remember, we actually placed this at 8%. We don't know about other smart schools and I know about some of the smart schools and who are handling it. Okay? I wouldn't mention names. It's not my business to do that here. Then also remember that we have a lot of road construction projects going on. A lot of local contractors are handling it. The one in my community is being handled by a local contractor. And I know he's also handling for several other communities around us. Okay, and even outside of our shores. I mean, outside of my community, another local government entirely is also handling the roads there. So I believe that the Enugu State government, in its wisdom, does not want to toe the ethnic line. I've told you that it is not a discussion that should even be considered at all, in my view. But it is important that local contractors are empowered, which is very important. I agree that and I also asked the question. I asked the rhetoric question. What if he decided to use only people from in Kano East local government area? Don't you think I would have converted and become a contractor overnight? I'll leave my job immediately and become a contractor.
At the end of the day.
So let's not even consider. In terms of what we should be looking at is in terms of competence.
Yes.
Track record. And that is in terms of Sujimoto, track record is there. In terms of Sujimoto, you can look at it from that and say, oh, competence is also there. Though these things have come into question now. In terms of integrity, now he confessed that he had a problem. He's been having problems with his projects in the past. So now he needed money. This is like grasping to a straw to save yourself from drowning. I believe that's what he did. He felt that this was, government money, free money. Let me just take it. In my view, so it is alleged. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I'm believing that perhaps that was what he felt that he could do. But then it was the wrong state government. Now, why did do you know what it means to acquire 30,000 hectares of land? So was this just for show? So he came and told the governor, we're going to partner with you and we will acquire 30,000. Such a person should have the means. This kind of thing, even if you don't have the money, because, for instance, if you feel that the money is too much, maybe you're not making any profit from it. But I don't think you're running losses, so long as it can take care of the overhead, and then, of course, materials for the capital projects and those who are involved in carrying out the inspection of those projects. If you can take care of this, why don't you do it? Somebody like that is expected to have billions of naira, if not in dollars. I hope you understand, somewhere where he can also fall back on at any time. It is not good for his reputation. He admitted that. But it is not that the state is destroying his reputation. He's the one who has destroyed his reputation by not actually meeting the terms of the contract. Because anybody who says there was no contract, there's a contract. He admitted there's a contract. He entered into a contract. He didn't show us that the contract terms. Did he show us? Let him actually go on social media, take snapshots of tough stuff of the and show us.
Yeah. All right. We're out of time. Thank you once again, Dr. Anyanuka, for joining.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. We'll meet again, same time, same channel tomorrow. Bye for now.